Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video about some more fallout from the Karen Reed case. Because, hey, you thought the case was over, but it's not. Because yesterday, Alan Jackson wrote the Honorable Michelle Wu, who is the mayor in Boston. And why, oh, why did he write her? Well, this is another proof that if you want the news these days, you have to be online. Because Corey Hopkins, who you might know as Marbury v. Matt on the Twit, has been digging into all of these files. He's been suing to get access to a lot of files pertaining to the Karen Reed case. And let's just say she has had quite some success getting stuff out there that you didn't want out there if you work for the DA's office or the police. So again, the mainstream media, especially one of our favorite, Sue from Boston, has been really angry the last couple of days about, well, we are the trusted people, we are journalists, we have ethical obligations. Then why the hell can't you break these stories? Why does it take someone like Corey to get all of this information out here? You should be wondering, why isn't this something that news media in Massachusetts wants to cover? Why is it something that online sleuth figure out and then YouTubers help share? But sadly, that's how it is today. If you want anything that is a little bit controversial, anything that might not follow the line, you have to be online because the MSM won't cover it. And Corey had been fighting a lot of battles to get a lot of information, and they're still withholding even more. But this is about Commissioner Cox, the man who said, I don't know anything about Deaver and her connection to the Karen Reed case, which we now know is a lie because he was told by the FBI that she was connected to the Karen Reed case. That's why Alan Jackson has asked for immediately Brady listing and post review of Commissioner Michael Cox, because Michael Cox has been caught in a lie, and not a small one, because he denied any connections to the Karen Reed case or to Kelly Deaver. He was asked about the allegations that he met with Deaver before she was called to testify, and he told her to do the right thing. In his unequivocal denial, he stated, I have nothing to do with Karen Reed. Matter of fact, I didn't even know this person, Deaver, was associated with the Reed case. He doubled down. I didn't know that Deaver was even an associate with this case. I was struck like, what do I have to do with the Karen Reed case? I never said those words together. So the fact is, it is much to do about nothing. Well, we all know this is BS because, of course, Cox knew about the Reed case. One of his officers died. He should know about it. And the victim's body was found outside another of his officers' house. But nope, never ever heard anything about that case. But now we know, as it states here, newly obtained evidence proves that he knowingly misrepresented his involvement, because on February 22nd, 2024, the Boston field office of the feds sent Commissioner Cox an email explicitly referencing Deaver and the Reed investigation. The email from Assistant Agent in Charge Stephen Keller, maybe. Just a reminder, the documents was released to the DA's office late last night. The officer we spoke about is Kelly Deaver. And sorry, this moved when I enlarged it, so it has nothing to do with that. The very next day at 11 a.m., Cox officially calendar lists a meeting with Deaver, exactly as Deaver would later testify and Cox would deny. The timeline is indisputable. Why, oh, why would you lie about something like this? That's the thing I don't get. Why would you lie about having a meeting with Deaver and telling her to do the right thing. Well, maybe because doing the right thing isn't telling the truth. But you are the top cop in Boston. You are lying. You are now not to be believed. And that's why Alan Jackson says, put him on the Brady list. So this can be pulled up every time he has to testify about anything. They can then say, but you lied about this. And he would sit there and say, no, I don't know. Cox televised claimed that he had nothing to do with Reed and didn't even know Deaver was associated with Reed, was a bald-faced lie, or one now disproven by documentary evidence originating from the Federal Bureau of Investigation itself. And you have to wonder why is it necessary to lie about stuff like this? But again, Alan Jackson goes on. Commissioner Cox must be referred for immediate inclusion on the Brady list maintained by the Suffolk County. In addition, the Post Commission must initiate a full disciplinary review for dishonesty, lack of candor, and conduct unbecoming of an officer under department policies. Employees shall conduct themselves at all times, both on and off duty, in such a manner to reflect most favorable at the department. This is not a political issue. It's a question of credibility and public trust. When Boston's top law enforcement officer lies about his own knowledge of a case under federal scrutiny, the stain spreads across the entire system. Accountability cannot stop at the commissioner's door. The people of Massachusetts deserve law enforcement leaders who tell the truth, not those who hide behind it. In light of the documented evidence now in the public record, there is only one responsible course: add Cox to the Brady list and open an immediate post inquiry. So, another fallout from the Reed case. I've said it many, many times. Imagine if she didn't have those globe sized cojones that she chose to fight the system, because that case have proven beyond any reasonable doubt that change need to happen in Massachusetts. It's not enough that you put out Meatball Morrissey on pasture and then get a new one in. No, you need reforms. You need outside investigations. You need the politicians to step up and demand change. It's not enough that we just take one of the figures away. This is a systemic problem you have in Massachusetts. Do I think anything will happen? No. I've been covering Massachusetts long enough to know that this will be like everything else, swept under the rug. Nothing will happen, and they will just laugh and laugh, because who's going to threaten them? They're When Morrissey's gone, they're just going to put in another party soldier who's going to do exactly like Morrissey. It's not going to change anything in Massachusetts. That's why independent journalists, people like Corey Hopkins, and her pressure on the system are so important. That's why they don't want Turtle Boy talking about what's going on in Massachusetts. That's why they don't like any outsiders talking about the trouble they have. They just want to go along and get along. I know later today, Melanie Little will be looking into a lot of the documents that Corey has had access to now. She had sued for them. It's probably going to be a great stream. I would recommend people to watch it. Maybe watch it on delay and come watch my trial with me, but watch it. This is Massachusetts. No responsibilities, all lies, and no one fears the consequences because they are all in it together. I don't believe anything will happen, but we can just hope that someday, somehow, Massachusetts will figure out how to run a state That's not an absolute hellhole where the police can do what they want because they are protected by the prosecutors. They need accountability because you deserve to hold your police force and your DAs accountable of all the mistakes they make. Let's fingers crossed that something will happen this time. Sadly, I'm not hopeful, but let's see.